Hey guys, today I'm going to continue Lord of the Mysteries Volume 2, Faceless. If you enjoy my explanation, please subscribe to my channel. Let's start with a small recap of the previous chapter. Previously, in Chapter 214 Land of Hope, Klein arrived in Backlund, the bustling capital of Lone Kingdom. The city was covered in thick smog, its streets crowded with people from every walk of life. Carrying oversized luggage and dressed in a tuxedo with a half-top hat, Klein took in the sights while reflecting on his role as clown. He realized the true essence of the clown pathway, using humor and calmness to mask sorrow, confusion, and despair. This understanding brought him closer to digesting his potion. As he explored, Klein considered his next steps. He needed a safe place to live, far from Evernight Church and the Nighthawks who might recognize him. After weighing the risks of different districts, he settled on Sherwood Borough as his destination. Thus, with a new city before him and new dangers ahead, Klein began his life in Backlund. Chapter 215, Mrs. Samur. The train whistled sharply as several men rushed into the carriage. Their leader, tall and stern, barked at the conductor. "Did you see a teenage boy? He's wearing an old coat." The conductor, barely in his 20s, paled at the fierce questioning. His back pressed against the wall as he stammered, pointing toward third class. I saw him, he went that way." Without another word, the man in the black coat and half-top hat signaled to his group, and they dashed toward third class, ignoring frightened passengers. From his seat, Klein lowered his newspaper just enough to watch. He thought quietly, if I were that boy, I'd already have slipped off the train. But to his surprise, moments later, the very boy in question stepped calmly into the carriage. He was dressed in a ragged coat and a round hat, carrying a shabby haversack. His features were sharp yet youthful, his red eyes calm, solemn, and watchful. Klein's interest was piqued, so he tricked them. Instead of running, he slipped back through first class, careful, mature, smarter than most grown men. Klein clicked his molar and activated spirit vision. Immediately, the boy's aura revealed itself: fatigue, tension, exhaustion, yet beneath it all was composure, the blessing of calm and rational thought. At his age, this was remarkable. Klein lowered his gaze once again, pretending to return to his paper, allowing the boy to pass unnoticed. The rest of the journey remained uneventful. Eventually, the train screeched into Sherwood Borough. Klein stepped down, rented a carriage, and after a short ride arrived at Minsk Street. Before him stood Unit 17. He reached for the bell, and as it rang, a strange sight emerged. Above the door, a mechanical bird sprang forward, gears clicking as it let out a stiff cuckoo, cuckoo. Klein smirked inwardly, an amusing toy, though the craftsmanship is rough. Soon the door opened. A weary maid appeared, dressed neatly in black and white. "May I help you, sir?" she asked softly. Klein smiled, tapping his cane wrapped with newspapers. "I've come to speak with Mrs. Samur about renting a house." The maid bowed politely and hurried inside. Moments later, Klein was ushered in. Warmth hit him at once. The fireplace burned with red, smokeless charcoal, chasing away the chill from outside. The living room was spacious, adorned with soft carpets and paintings of beautiful landscapes. It carried the elegance of old money, carefully maintained. Klein set down his hat and coat as another figure entered. She was a woman in her 30s, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, graceful. Dressed in a pale yellow gown, she carried a feathered fan, her youthful beauty preserved with care. Klein stood and pressed his palm lightly to his chest. "Good evening, Mrs. Samur." She smiled with polite reserve. "Good evening, please take a seat. Would you prefer coffee or tea?" "Tea, thank you," Klein replied smoothly. As they settled, Klein introduced himself with his chosen alias. "Sherlock Morardi, you may call me Sherlock." Mrs. Samur nodded, intrigued. She spoke of her husband, Luke Samur, a coin company manager and an enthusiast of machines. The pipes that ran through the house, she explained proudly, were his designs. Klein chuckled. "There's no need to go into such detail. I'm not here on a blind date with your husband." The remark made her laugh lightly, and soon they turned to business. "The rent for Unit 15 is 18 solely a week," she said. "One more for furniture and a deposit of £50. Klein shook his head, still smiling. "Mrs. Samur, I've only just arrived in Backlund. £50 would strip away the safety I need. Half a year's rent, £25, is all I can offer. She studied him for a moment, eyes narrowing slightly, then nodded. Very well, £25 for half a year. The maid returned with a cup of Marquis black tea, its porcelain cup patterned with gold. Klein took a sip and found the flavor balanced, both sweet and tart. It was far finer than the cheap tea he often drank. They signed the contract, Klein counting out the money carefully, each coin feeling heavier than it should. Mrs. Samur accepted it gracefully, then gave advice on the realities of Backlund life: wages, expenses, the cost of appearances. To live decently, she insisted, one needed at least £3 a week more if one wanted servants or comfort. Klein listened patiently, smiling faintly. As they spoke, the door opened and her husband returned. Luke Samur was stout, neatly dressed in a black double-breasted suit with two neat mustaches above his lips. He greeted Klein politely, even inviting him to dinner, though Klein declined with a smile, saying he had eaten on the train. At last, a maid escorted Klein to Unit 15. The house was large, with a wide living room, a sunlit dining room, a kitchen stretching to the back, and a cellar below. Upstairs, 4 bedrooms, an activity room, and a large balcony awaited. It lacked refined decorations of Mrs. Samur's home, but it was his. When the maid left, Klein stood alone in the quiet house. The rooms echoed with emptiness and a wave of loneliness washed over him, but he forced himself to focus. Revenge and advancement would take time. Survival came first. He thought about the jobs he could take. An author, too dangerous; fame would only draw attention. A reporter, impossible without documents; that left one option. A private detective. It was the role he had already prepared for, the identity of Sherlock Morardi. And so, on that night in the silence of Unit 15, Klein's new life in Backlund began.